Hey everybody, we're here for the new episode of RLG Cast Reviews. It's me, Campo. We're reviewing The Mandalorian Season 3. I'm here with Putty, and I'm here with JD. Their stuff will be in the description. Check them out. And guys, come on. 99% of the people who watch our videos, that's not even me being sarcastic, are not subscribed. Please help out the channel. Drop a little subscribe. We'll be very grateful. Drop a like. Maybe even drop a comment. Did you like this show? Let us know. Anyways, Putty's got some stuff there. He's liking the video. And let's just jump right into this. So Mandalorian Season 3, the further adventures of Din Djarin. And this is what the last season was 2020, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a while. We got a little taste of him in Boba Fett. So most of this movie revolves around Mandalore, or the show, sorry, and Bo-Katan and her former, what would you call them, clan,
Yeah.
as well as the
The Night
Mandos
Owls.
that we know, the Mando
Yeah.
clan that we know. And I'd say the general storytelling here is not as strong as the last two seasons. I do think, though, the world building aspect / character building aspect is probably the strongest, but the problem is it's all to build to the future of the entire Star Wars universe as a whole and what stories they might want to tell in other things rather than
This
pushing
show
the
should have been
Mandalorian.
called, this season should have been called The Mandalorians instead of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because this season was almost, other than a few snippets, had nothing to do with Din.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair and unfair at the same time. I do agree with you to an extent. I think what he gets is good, but I do agree that it's not enough about him. It's not enough about any of them. It's too much. What are we expanding for when we make new shows and new movies, and not enough about what's happening right here. The most development we get is from Bo-Katan and from Grogu. Grogu really trying to think of a word. He really matures in this and is a lot more conscious of what he's doing as a being rather than just being a baby that sometimes has the Force.
Yeah, he's a little bit more cognizant of what he's doing.
There you go.
Well, see, here's the thing. The thing is I feel like that's one thing that's, at least with Grogu or Din Grogu or
drop the spoilers now for the non-spoiler part.
But I don't think they can understand. Oh, really? Okay, see, I didn't know there was separation. Anyway, but okay. Overall, a situation with this is I'm happy that they're building on the story of Mandalore. That's really what I want. I do want. So building on that is a great thing, and I'm glad it exists. But the problem is because we become so comfortable with these characters that when you take yourself out of there, it feels so much different. Like I understand the show has now become something more of, we're introducing you to other characters that we're going to set up for other shows, and I'm okay with that because I feel like, again, Grogu in this had way more moments of greatness that were fun. That's, wasn't focused on him as a story, but more of a part to add as an addition. Like, hey, I'm cute, I'm here, and it's okay. But it felt different this time. It felt like a little more pushed, even though I did enjoy it. Does that sound strange? Like it was not as even though there was growth in him. It's like he's basically at the toddler age. Is basically what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? So there's a I don't know if there's a good balance between him being very mature and immature. And that's where because like he went from being very immature to very mature very quickly in this one episode, when he's been growing like that slowly now. Does that make sense?
I think they had to eventually. They had to make a leap. At some point, it had to just happen because they were taking too long playing out the baby story. And you know what? I want to give JD a little bit of credit here because early on, I think it was episode 3, maybe. He called that this season was going to mainly focus on Bo and everything there, and you said no. So I hadn't even watched the show this season yet at that point. So I will give you credit for calling that out. That was absolutely correct. But I do think her as a character is very interesting. And I think there's a lot to unpack here still with her. I think there's a dark side of her that we don't know yet. I also think there's something going on with the Sasha Banks character I don't know what her name is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as a whole, I think it holds up. It's a good season. It's a nice addition, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit less than the last 2 seasons for me. It lacks a little bit of focus, and it's a little bit wobbly on and unsure of where it's trying to go through at times.
No, I know where it wants to go. It's Filoni wants to do his live action Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, which we'll get that at some point. But so if no one has anything else for the spoilery free part, would you like to give it a score for this season?
This season alone? I'll go 6-8.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll give it an 8. I'll give the season an 8.
Really, that high?
7.98. Yeah, I think it was an excellent season. I just think it wasn't as tight as the previous 2.
Well, that's kind of funny too, because I don't know. I'm kind of in between, so I'll do 7.5. I know I'm being weird that way, but it's like I still enjoyed it, but it's very other seasons gave me way more excitement based on
that's fair.
Well, for me also to justify my score, when the first season came out, it was about the Mandalorian and his quest.
Mm-hmm.
This season wasn't about the Mandalorian, and that's I think
after season 1 though of Mandalorian, none of the Star Wars shows that would come out would be about that person anymore. Even Obi-Wan is not even about Obi-Wan.
It was about Vader.
And that, you see what I mean? Like, it was like one season, they're just now trying to expand the universe rather than focus on those characters. But that being said, if you average out our scores, since Putty did pick a middling score, it's a 7.5 for the season, which is not bad. I think it's definitely watchable. I think you'll find enjoyment here.
I still had fun with it.
We'll open the floor for spoilers. 3, 2, 1 spoilers.
Okay.
Putty, you can go because you were going to say something.
There's several things. The one thing is, I'm going to leap right to the end, and I'm sorry, but I just got to point this out. When it came to the first season, the ending was based on setting up for possible, like it was bookend, and at the same time left it open for season 2 and become popular. Season 2 open. Season 2, what this one hell of a cliffhanger with Luke Skywalker. So we get this Luke Skywalker thing, but then we get it. We get this whole thing where where we're like we're not getting that ending. We're not getting that excitement ending. It feels like this part felt like it was part of a bigger movie with the last episode. When they did the 15-minute episode that they had them all fighting, this felt like that was the end cap of that.
The epilogue.
Some kind of movie. Yeah. And so, because I enjoyed the battle, like in the season finale, I love the battle when they're flying in midair and they're like the both.
Yeah, that was one of the best action sequences in Star Wars I've ever seen.
But the problem was there was great action, but the story was from the last episode. So I had already been a week later kind of out of it. Like I think this season is one of those seasons where it's not enjoyable when you see it in parts. It's more enjoyable when you see it all together. And I think that's the reason why it suffers from that, is because they want to release these episodes. So when I saw the season finale, it was underwhelming for me. You know what I mean? It was like, this is what is this? And then I felt maybe it's because I just saw the other one last week. Maybe I should have just watched it to kind of put it together and make it feel better. And am I wrong? Do you guys agree?
No, you know what?
Yeah,
I think I'll give you this, and I'll take something away. I agree with you to a point, but I think it can be chunked. I think episode 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, and 5 or 6, 7, 8 need to be watched together.
Yeah.
Or to some much of that degree, right? I don't think you need to go 8 episodes straight to get this working, but I do agree with you. It doesn't work well waiting a week, waiting for the chapters, because one episode is all the story, and then the next episode will be about a completely different character, and then the following episode will continue the previous episode, but it's no longer the story part; it's the payoff. So it's
exactly.
What was this?
It's like 3 mini trilogies. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I do like the introduction of those new characters, how they're integrating the people from the
Rebels.
They're not the Rebels. What are they called?
Clone
the
Wars?
Imperials.
Oh,
and into like society again.
See, yeah. I would have liked more from that. But they didn't give me enough of that.
But this is the thing. I think they're trying to go somewhere with this, right? I feel like their plan here is to drop a different show, or it's going to be part of another show.
The one thing that's bothered me, what is the payoff to the doctor that got his brain fried? Like, what's the payoff to
that? There is no payoff to that yet.
but is there
the
going to
payoff
be?
is this is a thing. So, and I'll give them this. It's a movie it's a director's technique or a writer's technique, something that maybe like a Quentin Tarantino would use, not really like a Scorsese. It would be like a Fincher or someone that's going to subvert your expectations. So what they did was they gave you this character, they gave you a deep backstory, they gave you everything for him, and they let it all play out, then killed him because the story's really about the girl, has nothing to do with him. He's just was there as a vehicle to introduce us to her. But the way that they did it was by making you care about this guy and thinking he's the one you're supposed to care about. And I thought that was genius. I thought that episode was genius.
The girl was the one that was behind everything, bringing back Gideon.
Yeah, but it was such a trick to your mind because you think you're watching this show for this guy or this episode and really had nothing to do with him.
I agree. I agree on that because it really did pull on.
I get your point.
Yeah, it really did pull on my strings. It's just I'm so frustrated to think now that this guy. I mean, I guess they can possibly bring him back, but he was such a great character in my eyes to have a chance to be more involved with maybe seeing.
I think if they don't bring him back, it adds even more to it because his death
means something.
His death means something. But I can see something along those lines happening. I think Putty will get your wish.
Well, no, actually, I think
he's part of cloning. Right, that's what his whole thing was. Maybe they're gonna clone him, and the doctor will be obedient, the one that they bring back.
I just realized what they did to me, and I think this is exactly why this is also happening. Remember, the doctor had the DNA of Grogu. He understands the DNA of Grogu. No one else has actually had that in the Star Wars world to understand what he has as a species as well. So having that means, with him dying, means that they keep that whole lore of Yoda and Grogu being a mystery. And I didn't think about that
because Gideon used Grogu's DNA to imbue his clones with the Force. They weren't Force users, but they had that little bit of Force sensitivity. That was the whole point of Dr. Pershing.
I want to. Okay, go Putty. Go.
My logic. Well, then that breaks my logic of making him the only one to have it. So
it also breaks my logic of them possibly bringing him back as a clone to use his knowledge. But
exactly.
I want to point out that I think the use of Grogu in that final episode and him finally being truly useful and showing how unbelievably powerful he truly is
it mirrored what he did at the end of season 1 when he used the Force to protect IG-88 and all that.
If you did not cry when he was blocking the fire, you're not human. I
was ready to cry when I thought he was going to die.
There was a moment there of like, okay, you had to have seen it. So he throws him down, throws away his weapon, and then blocks the blaster blast. And then as the thing's coming down,
creates a force field, basically.
When Yoda did that in his old age, when he exerted his force to that level, he would pass out. This is a baby who just did that, and yeah, he fell on his butt, but he was still conscious. Where if you remember in the early seasons when he overexerted himself, he would go to sleep.
Yeah, because of the fire part, I was waiting for that to happen. Remember, because when he stopped the fire, I was waiting for that moment where he goes, oh, and it falls back, but it didn't. Here's my
kind of like little guy got tuckered out, you know?
Yeah. Well, here's my thing, though. I'm happy they're progressing toward this. That's the reason why that whole theory I had about the whole idea that years later, I really feel like they're using Grogu as the path to opening up the Jedis again, because I know, and I'll let you get to it, JD. No. I want you to get to it because I want to hear it. But here's the reason why I say that.
I agree with Putty.
Right now, Mandalorian is such a popular thing that the Jedi thing is actually a stain because of these last 3 movies that Disney made. So I think what they're doing is they're building on Mandalorian and then going to use Grogu being half Mandalorian now, because he is now has Mandalorian and he's now he could be also a Jedi. Combining those two both is going to bring the 2 things that we love about Star Wars: Mandalorians, which we've been loving since we were younger, and Jedis. And they're doing.
You want to hear my wild theory? And I think one of you, you know what? Actually, no. Well, I'm going to say this for the podcast episode coming out later this week. But just to stick with this show, okay, specifically this show, I'm going to remember this. We'll talk about Star Wars in the podcast. The acting is really good. I think the issues happening with Pedro Pascal are a little bit scary.
But this happens at the end of every season, though. Yes,
it's true. But he was on set for this, I think, once for the
Yeah,
entirety.
he just does the
this.
voice. He just does the voice, and
yeah, now it has its own actor.
Yep.
But you know, a really good job here. Giancarlo Esposito is fantastic.
But he always is.
He's such just a jerk. He's such a good jerk.
And I
just started watching season 6 of Better Call Saul, and
but tell me I'm wrong about this. I feel like they're also making it to where he doesn't have to be there as well with that suit he made. I think they built that suit for him because he can have that Darth Vader appeal, and it also allows not Pedro, but what's his name, to like not have to be there. He can record his voices and still play Moff Gideon this whole time.
I'm going to give you this. Without
he's not dead. Moff Gideon.
No, he's not, and he's going to come back as a Darth Vader-esque character that's more robot than he is human.
Yeah,
and this is
yeah. But I was saying, to contradict what you're saying, Putty, who teaches him?
He
can't learn on his own. They've announced new films with Ridley coming back, and they're gonna have. I don't think they're gonna have anything to do with Grogu.
Okay, so we'll get to this in the podcast, guys. Thank you for watching. This show was very good. Watch it. Watch all 3 seasons, and like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.